Where's my hair?
Your hair has been destroyed to prevent you from contacting your ship.
What ship?
Good morning, Corey. Good morning, Michelle. Free time. What is it?
Skills and identities.
To foster a new generation of... Okay, let's go again.
All we've lost, we're setting that right again.
While tending his beehives, Teddy tells his autistic cousin Dawn that the government is manipulating the food supply. He believes a hidden force controls society, and after months of research, he's convinced it's their duty to expose the truth. Determined, they start training for a secret mission. They buy tools and disguises, but during lunch, Dawn admits he's scared of getting caught. Teddy comforts him and reassures him until he agrees to continue. That night, Teddy bans all distractions. No games, no smoking, no screens unless for research, and even suggests a chemical injection to suppress their urges. Dawn refuses at first, but Teddy pressures him with a speech about breaking free from biology until he gives in, and they take the shot. Meanwhile, Michelle, the CEO of a major pharmaceutical company, enjoys her polished, luxurious routine. On camera, she acts kind and progressive, but behind the scenes, she's harsh and demanding. That afternoon, she arrives home unaware that Teddy and Dawn are hiding nearby. They ambush her, and she fights back fiercely, knocking them down multiple times. But Teddy eventually manages to inject her with a sedative, and they drag her into her own car. On the way home, Dawn shaves her head because Teddy believes her hair can track her like GPS. They burn their disguises and lock her in the basement. There, Teddy reveals his full belief. Aliens control global conspiracies, and Michelle is one of them. He points to her physical features as proof, covers her body with a cream he claims blocks her nervous system, and ties her to a mattress, convinced he's captured an alien in disguise.
In the evening, the boys put on suits and return to the basement. When Michelle wakes up, Teddy welcomes her to the Human Resistance headquarters and calmly explains that, even as an Andromedan alien, she must follow the Geneva Conventions. Confused, Michelle asks about her missing hair, and Teddy tells her they shaved it so she couldn't contact her mothership. Michelle warns them that the FBI will be looking for her, but Teddy just laughs, insisting she's pretending to be human. He calls her a high-ranking Andromedan official helping her species enslave Earth. He demands that she take them to her mothership during the upcoming lunar eclipse so he can confront her superiors. When she denies being an alien, he claims he found thermal scans and hidden code on her Instagram as proof. He drops a recorder and tells it to prepare a message for her emperor. Teddy adds that she should feel lucky because her species killed his community and even his bees. Ignoring her pleas, the boys leave the basement and celebrate upstairs. Later, during dinner, Dawn sees Michelle crying on the security camera and feels guilty. Teddy tells him not to fall for alien manipulation. After Dawn goes to bed, Teddy keeps watching the feed and remembers how his mother, Sandy, joined an Oxidized drug trial to earn money and ended up in a coma. The next morning, they forced Michelle to reapply the nerve-blocking cream. With 3 days left before the eclipse, Teddy bikes to work while listening to conspiracy podcasts. He's stopped by Officer Casey, who used to babysit him, but Teddy ends the conversation quickly to avoid suspicion. At his job in an Oxalite warehouse, a coworker complains about a cut. Teddy urges her to file a report as part of fighting the system.
During his lunch break, Teddy watches the news and sees that Michelle has been reported missing, though investigators have no leads. Later at home, he checks on his bees and asks Dawn about Michelle. She hasn't eaten or used the bathroom, which Teddy interprets as an attempt to gain sympathy. The cousins put on their seats again and head to the basement to listen to Michelle's recorded message. She claims she's an alien and that her mothership will come for them, but Teddy scolds her for not speaking the alien language. Michelle insists she can't because she isn't really an alien, which makes Teddy smash the recorder in anger. Michelle then explains that she's a chemist with a psychology background and believes Teddy has trapped himself in online content that confirms only his beliefs, warping his sense of reality. This sets Teddy off on another furious rant about corporations and conspiracies. When Michelle responds with sarcasm, he slams a chair on the floor and throws it over her head. She tries to reason with him, asking if he wants money or power, but he ignores her. When she calls him mentally ill, he slaps her. Shaken, Teddy hides in his car to calm down. He tells Dawn about the YouTubers who proved aliens exist, but clarifies that he alone devised the method to identify them. He hopes the aliens will read his thoughts during negotiations and recognize humanity's honor and dignity. Dawn asks what life in space will be like, and Teddy explains that they'll only be there for a few hours to negotiate before returning to Earth. When Dawn admits feeling strange after their chemical injections, Teddy reassures him that it's normal. Meanwhile, Michelle continues struggling against her restraints to no avail. The next morning, the cousins return. Dawn holds a gun, and Michelle pleads, admitting she is an alien and wants to start over. Teddy isn't convinced. He straps her to a chair and begins electroshock torture, playing loud music to cover her screams. Michelle is visibly uncomfortable, but Teddy insists it's necessary. Michelle suffers intensely as he steadily increases the voltage, making the lights flicker. When Dawn tries to intervene, Teddy slaps his hand away and continues, completely focused on his mission.
Eventually, the power in the house starts failing and sparks fly dangerously from the electrical connections. Teddy is in shock, so Dawn finally takes control and turns the machine off. He scolds Teddy for almost killing Michelle, but Teddy insists he's in the right. Teddy cleans the blood from Michelle's mouth and apologizes, addressing her as Your Majesty. He now believes her high pain tolerance proves she is alien royalty, not just a general like he first thought. A flashback shows Michelle previously covered up an incident that seriously harmed most of the clinical trial patients, paying their medical expenses to keep them silent. On the day before the eclipse, Teddy goes shopping. At home, he covers all the doors and windows before letting Michelle out of the basement. He treats her like royalty, allowing her to shower and even bringing her clothes and wig. Michelle is disgusted by the thrift store clothes and refuses the wig. For dinner, they strap her legs to a chair. She tries to make small talk, praising their home and their activism, and even remarks on her respect for bees as an organized society. Teddy, however, thinks she's only pretending to admire them for exploitation. Tension rises when he blames her company for climate change and the pesticide-related deaths of bees. Michelle counters by defending the trials and insisting her company helped the victims. Teddy grows angry with every word until he snaps, leaping across the table to tackle her and begin choking her. Dawn pleads with him to stop, but the struggle continues. Michelle breaks free from her restraints, stabs Teddy's arm with a fork, and tries to escape. Teddy chases her, and they end up fighting on the floor again. Dawn finally intervenes, knocking Michelle out with his gun. At that moment, Casey rings the doorbell. No one answers, and he begins inspecting the house, noticing the covered windows until Teddy opens the back door. Casey enters, and Teddy quickly turns off the security camera. When Casey notices the strap on the chair, Teddy claims it was for his mother who had fits while sick. Casey explains he's patrolling the neighborhood because Michelle's phone pinged a nearby tower and her car was seen down the road.
Casey has been asking locals if they've seen anything, and Teddy insists he hasn't. Nervous, Casey admits he came to check on Teddy because he feels guilty. He once took advantage of him while babysitting and has been trying to make amends. Teddy pretends to forgive him and shows him the bees. In the basement, Michelle wakes up to see Dawn holding his gun. She speaks gently, praising him and promising not to press charges if he helps stop Teddy, noting Dawn is only being manipulated. Persuaded by her, Dawn uses his gun to self-delete, covering Michelle in blood. Outside, Teddy attacks Casey with bees and a shovel, killing him. Grief-stricken, Teddy rushes to the basement and finds Dawn dead. He blames Michelle, who claims she has a cure for Sandy. Teddy grabs a bottle from her car and injects Sandy at the hospital, only to discover it's real antifreeze and she dies. Panicked, Teddy escapes. Back in the basement, Michelle frees herself using handcuff keys and discovers a hidden room with jars of human parts, photos, and notes. Teddy had dissected people he thought were aliens. When he returns with a gun, Michelle asks how many were actually aliens. He says 2. She explains that the Andromedan Emperor found Earth during the dinosaur era, and her people accidentally spread a virus that caused their extinction.
The Andromedan Emperor, feeling guilty for the destruction caused by humans, created a species similar to himself, humans. The first society, Atlantis, worshipped the aliens as gods, but greed and violence led to nuclear war. Only a few survived thanks to an ark, and though society rebuilt, humans continued destroying the planet. Most Andromedans wanted to eliminate humanity, but the Emperor hoped for a cure for the violence gene, which led to the trials Sandy joined. Michelle agrees to report to her leader during the eclipse and brings Teddy along. She puts on a wig and her original clothes, then drives him to her company building. Employees and guards are shocked, but she reassures them and sends them home. In her office, she closes the curtains and uses a disguised alien device, a calculator, to contact the mothership. Teddy, revealing he has the bomb under his jacket, follows her instructions into her teleporter closet.
The bomb explodes, killing Teddy and knocking Michelle out. An ambulance arrives and employees applaud her bravery. Michelle wigs up, ignores the doctors, and jumps out of the ambulance. She returns to her office, activates the closet, and suddenly appears on the mothership, proving she's the Andromedan Empress. The council informs her that all experiments to cure humans failed. Deciding humanity must disappear, she bursts the protective bubble over a model of Earth, instantly killing everyone on the planet. Back in Teddy's garden, the bees fly away, finally free.